Todd Halleck here. Thought we'd talk a little bit today about the benefits of a family business entity, whether it's estate planning or transition planning. Oftentimes, establishing an entity to hold the assets can be a real benefit to the planning and create planning opportunities that wouldn't exist if you were simply transitioning the actual asset itself. So what would be an example of this? Well, say we own a family farm or some large real estate holdings. Do we simply transfer a fractional interest in the property itself? So each time we make a transition of the asset, we need to give a gift of this fractional interest in the land? Or do we simply put the land into a limited liability company, for example, and when we want to make a transition, either a sale or a gift, we, instead of selling the land directly, or gifting the land directly, we transition or we transfer the interest in the limited liability company. So a couple of different ways of doing the same thing, but in my view, doing it through a business entity brings some real value to the family. So what are some of those benefits? Well, it's a convenient way of making gifts. We don't have to prepare deeds, go to the county recorder, address issues of legal descriptions, potentially create clouds on title. Simple, real easy, convenient way to make transitions is by transferring a percentage interest in a business. Same thing with personal property. I mean, if I'm going to transfer a fractional share of a combine, for example, how do I do that effectively? Well, if it's in the business, we've been able to do that by transitioning a fractional share of ownership in the business itself. Another benefit is maintaining control. You can gift up to 99% of that business and still maintain day-to-day control of it. So it's a real great way of starting to transition ownership in a manner that may happen more rapidly than transition of control of that entity. Another benefit, leveraging valuation adjustments. If we just give a piece of property outright that's worth $1 million, say, well, the value of that gift is $1 million. But if instead we're giving an interest in a limited liability company that owns the real estate, we may be entitled to what are called valuation discounts, meaning that maybe that gift of the real property that would have been $1 million outside of the business entity is now only a gift of $800,000 or $700,000, which can really help us leverage our gift and estate tax exemption significantly. So leveraging those valuation adjustments, those valuation discounts that we're entitled to, really a big benefit of planning with family business entities. Another great benefit, educating family members about management of assets. Regardless of what those assets are, sometimes it takes time for that next generation to learn about management. Having them inside of a family business can really help and provide great opportunities to teach about management of those assets. Another benefit, sharing of income, makes it really easy to create a structure for how you want to share income from that asset. It may follow percentages, it may be something different, but the business will provide a much easier way of sharing income from that property than having the asset owned directly. Liability protection, that's always a big one with assets. If you and I own a piece of property together and I get a judgment against you, or someone gets a judgment against me, for example, they can seize that property, or at least my interest in that property potentially. If I own it in a business entity, it's much more difficult for that creditor to seize my interest in the underlying asset. They may be entitled to a garnishment or a charging order or something of that nature, but they're going to have a much more difficult time attaching the asset itself. So liability protection. Divorce protection, something we always worry about in families. Very few families are free from the plague of divorce that can happen. And if that does happen, what happens to the asset that was held? Well, if it's in a family business and it's governed by a buy-sell agreement, a partnership agreement, an operating agreement that restricts transferability, and where the spouses especially have signed off on the provisions of the agreement, we can protect that asset from being lost and going outside the family if that divorce occurs. So divorce protection is another great benefit of a family business entity. Postdeath administration is simplified. If an asset is held in a family business with multiple managers, multiple owners, the structure itself will provide for ongoing administration even in the event of the death of an owner. Additionally, the operating agreement in many states, or the partnership agreement or buy-sell agreement, can provide the mechanisms where ownership transition and limitations on who can become an owner, those sorts of things. So that post-death administration is simplified. It doesn't become a large battle in probate over how to control, because the entity itself provides for that structure. Finally, one of the great benefits of a family business entity is flexibility. You can change those arrangements. You can change how the taxation is handled in a much more efficient and simple way than you can if you're owning the assets directly. So if you have assets, whether they're assets that are actually engaged in commerce or things that you want to manage in kind, whether it's rental property, farming businesses, other types of family businesses, large holdings of publicly traded companies, talk to your advisor about the potential benefit that a family business entity might provide to you and to your children as part of your estate and transition plan. Hope you found this helpful. If you like these videos, we would encourage you to subscribe to our channel below, like this video, share it with your friends. If you have questions, please call us or reach out to us in the ways that are indicated below. We thank you and wish you the best of luck in your planning.